In the heart of dense, dark forests lay the quiet village of Haranpur. The old crumbling houses with cracked walls seemed to hold countless untold stories within them. As the sun set, the sky painted itself in shades of orange and purple, and a thick mist slowly crept across the ground. The villagers, their faces filled with fear and unease, stood in silence, their eyes fixed on the ominous woods surrounding them. At the center of the village square stood a weathered stone plaque, its surface engraved with the words, "Beware the forest of shadows." The villagers whispered among themselves, their voices trembling as they spoke of the curse that had plagued Haranpur for generations. They told tales of those who had ventured into the forest and never returned, their fate swallowed by the darkness. One such fate was that of Inspector Rajan Malik, a brave man who had disappeared months ago while investigating the legend of Kala Nayak, a bandit whose spirit was said to haunt the forest. The villagers still remembered the night Rajan had stood at the edge of the woods, lantern in hand, his determined face illuminated by the flickering light. He had stepped into the forest and the shadows had consumed him. Now, a new inspector, Arjun Kapoor, had arrived in Haranpur. Young and confident, he carried a revolver in one hand and a map of the forest in the other. The villagers gathered around him, their faces pale with fear. An old woman, her hand trembling, pointed toward the forest and warned, "Do not go there. The forest takes what it wants." But Arjun was determined. He believed the stories to be mere superstitions and set out to uncover the truth. As he entered the forest, the dense trees seemed to close in around him. The air grew colder, and an eerie silence enveloped him. The only sound was the crunch of leaves beneath his boots. Suddenly, a rustling sound broke the silence. Arjun spun around, his flashlight beam catching a faint movement in the bushes. His heart raced as shadows shifted unnaturally around him. Then he saw it, a tall, shadowy figure standing beneath a gnarled tree. Its glowing eyes pierced through the darkness, and its tattered clothes fluttered in the cold wind. Arjun fired his revolver, the muzzle flash illuminating the forest for a split second. But the bullet passed through the figure harmlessly. It grinned, its smile widening unnaturally as it began to advance toward him. Panic surged through Arjun as he turned and ran. But the trees seemed to shift and twist, trapping him in a maze. The shadowy figure was always just a few steps behind. Tripping over a root, Arjun fell to the ground, his revolver slipping from his hand. The figure loomed over him, its hollow face and sinister grin filling his vision. It leaned closer and whispered, "You should have listened to them." The words echoed in Arjun's ears as darkness consumed him. At dawn, the villagers found Arjun's revolver at the edge of the forest, surrounded by his footprints leading into the trees. The shadowy figure was gone, but the curse remained. The villagers stood in silence, their faces filled with sorrow and fear. They knew the forest had claimed another victim. As night fell, the wind carried a chilling whisper through the village. "You should have listened." The trees swayed unnaturally, and glowing eyes watched from the darkness. The curse of Haranpur lived on, waiting patiently for its next victim. The village was eventually abandoned, its streets empty and silent. The plaque in the square now read, "The curse of Haranpur. Enter at your own risk." And though the forest appeared peaceful, a faint glow began to emerge from an ancient altar deep within its depths, a sign that the curse was far from over.